Alright, so this is the example of my walkthrough. The walkthrough is basically going to be me going over how I planned a lesson. Of course, you'll be doing it for your music video. So I've pretty much broken that into two categories. The first one I've broken it up, which is preparation, and the second category is actually the lesson. Preparation, I did two types of preparation. The first thing I want to talk about preparation is actually the planning of the lesson. So when I plan a lesson, I make sure I have everything. So I need to have my board marker, yeah, okay. Need to have my reading book, which you can see, I've got that. Keys to get anything from the cupboards. Handout. So this is the handout they're doing today, which is going to involve, I'll talk about that as it's going. On the back it's got the homework. And because students might have been absent yesterday, yesterday's homework. Okay, so those are the three things. Oh, and one last thing. Head of Key Stage 3 told me a lot of students aren't doing the accelerated reading. So I've got this so I can kind of bollock them, so to speak, for not reading enough. Okay, so that's the planning before. Also, that might involve setting up the location. So the desks are kind of all focused towards the board. That's where I want them. They will be doing some group work, but that's going to be, actually not doing group work. I'll take that back. Blinds are closed. That way I don't have any kids looking in during the lesson. And as you can see on the board, I've got the date, the title, and I've got over here, I've got my starter. Okay? Starter's supposed to get them engaged. Okay? Okay, so now I've talked about what I do for lesson. For you, here's some tips for you. Number one, you need to be prepared for equipment. That means batteries, tapes, camcorder, okay, lights, anything you need. Number two, props. Okay, you've developed lists of things that you need to have. Make sure you bring them, and make sure whoever is responsible for them brings them in. Okay, so you need to walk through and talk about some of those items. The third thing you can talk about in yours is your storyboard, needing to have that, but even probably more specifically is an adjusted storyboard. Okay, I've given you feedback, you've had feedback from other students. Make some changes and talk about those changes in relation to your walkthrough. Okay, I think I'm on number 4. If I'm not, I'm sorry. But number 4 is pretty much where people are going to be. Where are the dancers going to be? Where's the cameraman going to be? Where is any other production staff are going to be, okay? Another thing you need to make sure you have is your song, so your music, okay? You need to bring that, and that's quite important, okay? That's going to be played probably 10 or 15 times. So you need to talk about where that's set up. For your preparation, you can also talk about who is bringing in the actual playing device, the speakers for this, okay? And that's the last for you. So preparation for you, what you need to do in your walkthrough is talk about those items and where they're going to be. Alright, so back to me. Alright, so now I'm doing my walkthrough of my lesson. Basically, my lesson, takes care of 4 parts. Okay, there's 4 of them. The first item is a starter. Okay, this item, I'll explain to you what that is. It needs to engage the kids somehow. Somehow it takes somewhere between 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Second thing is the teaching point. Okay, that's the one thing that I want to convey to the student. Okay, and that kind of can involve maybe an extended metaphor or immediate the use of camera work. All right, so that's the second part of the lesson. Third part of the lesson is actually the development. That's when I have the students do a task relating to that area. Okay, the fourth part of the lesson is where it's a plenary. That's me where I've done everything and I want to test their knowledge. Some sort of item at the end that's going to encapsulate everything. Alright, so basically I've just given you a walkthrough of the structure of the lesson, pretty much, okay, on a simplistic level. What you would need to do, your tips, is you need to do a walkthrough of yours. So the first step, I would say, is on the camera, you need to convey your concept. What is your idea? What is your treatment? What are you trying to get across to the audience and why? Okay, so that's the number 1 item you need to do with your walkthrough. Okay, the next part is I'm going to show you actually me walking through a lesson and what I would do at certain stages. Okay, so I'm back. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk through pretty much the starter activity. Okay, what would happen? What would happen is the students would come in the door. Okay, they'd sit down in their room. They already know they need to get their books out. They need to copy the objective. So they're copying these two items out. Okay, talking is minimalistic or none. Okay, and after that, that's when I'm going to give them this. I'm going to do some bullocking, okay, of people that haven't done enough reading. Okay, that's the basic structure. After that's done, I'm going to go over the starter, review what I want them to do, and the students are going to be expected to complete this in 5 minutes. And basically what I want them to do is we're reading The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. We've already looked at chapters 71 and 73, and they've made timelines of the events. So what is the 10 important things within those 2 chapters? I'm going to ask each student to play 2 very important items, okay, in that timeline that show a change in time. So future, past, and present, how it jumps, okay? The reason why I'm doing this as a teacher is I want them to start thinking about how they're going to write their paragraphs. So basically I'm having them select the areas they're going to write about. Okay, stop. All right, now that's the starter. I'm going to go on to the main. The main point is this teaching point. What do I want them to include in their writing? So they already know this concept of point, evidence, analysis, link. The other one is techniques. My year 8s have gone over this numerous times, so it's analytical writing, what I'm expecting them to do. So I'm just going to review this very quickly. Okay? The major item I'm going to use to review this teaching point is my handout. Okay, the handout is this item. It's a paragraph that I wrote. In this paragraph, I've pretty much analyzed the question. And the question is, write about Haddon's methods of telling the story in chapters 71 and 73. And what they're going to do is they will be given highlighters. I'll be giving those out. Okay? And for each of these items, point, technique, evidence, and effect on audience, we'll go through and I'll say for technique, I want you, anytime you hear a technique, put that one color. Anytime you hear a point, do another color. Anytime you do an analysis, another color. Okay? At the beginning of this process, what will happen is you'll have, I'll check for understanding, so I'll see to make sure they're doing that. At the end of each one of these items, I'm going to ask them to hold their sheet up like this to me. Everyone will hold their sheet up like this to me. And the reason why they're doing that is so I can see if they're learning and they're grasping the concept. Okay? So that's the teaching point. All right? All right. Okay, so we've gone step 1, starter. Step 2 is the main. Step 3 is the development. Okay, that's where I'm on now. Development pretty much is going to have them taking one of those items and writing about it. So I've given them a model, and I want them now to write about it. That's what I want them to do. Okay, so that's the development. They're writing, sustained writing for about 10 to 15 minutes. Silence, I'll circulate around and read some of their work to see if they're grasping what I want them to do. Okay, I'm back. So plenary is pretty much, as I said at the beginning, the end item. So I want to see if they've learnt what I've taught them. Okay, so in this step, what I'm going to have them do is 2 things. First step is I'm going to have them switch books. Step 2 is I'm going to ask them to peer assess each other. So in highlighters, okay, the highlighters before, they're going to have to identify point, evidence, analysis, link, and technique in their partner's work. And they can do this with the highlighters, okay? And whatever's missing, they're going to put as a target, and they'll put as a good, and then at the end, we'll have some readers. Okay, so that's the end of the plenary. Once that's done, students will be told the homework. The homework is on the back of the sheets, right here, Baron Burns speech. I'll review this. I will also monitor the class by looking around to see if they're writing that down, and that will be the end of the lesson. Okay, so basically, I don't know if that bored you, if that made you interested in teaching or something like that, but basically, I taught that lesson yesterday to my year 8s. Great class, doing extremely well. Now for you, as you probably saw, I gave you specific walkthrough of where I am and also what the kids are doing. Okay? For you now here's the tips for you and how you do your walkthrough, okay? Number one, where is the band or the singer going to be? Okay, so you need to look at your location, say they're there, and then they're moving over here. Where are they moving to? And talk about that and why. Okay? Now in relation to their movement, where are other things going to be? This is number two. Where's the camera going to be? And where are the... that's the main thing. Where's the camera going to be? Where is the shooting going to take place? And how is it going to be shot? You need to talk about that with some detail. Okay? Third item, okay, is also talk about where key props are going to be. Okay? Where are you going to be having key props and who's going to be in charge of moving them if they need to be moved. Okay? That's what you need to talk about in your walkthrough. Similar with me, I talked about these props that are my materials, what I'm doing with them. Okay? How I am using them. Okay? In my lesson, you need to talk about how you're using props in yours. And then also, you know, pretty much, I guess the main line is pretty much just go through the video. Think about, okay, in the video, this is how it's going to be shot. And that's kind of pretty much it. So, I guess, you know, I just want to say thank you for Mr. Blue Reardon, who's filming this, a Year 8 student. And hopefully this helps you with what you're expected to do. Thanks a lot. Bye.